Hello and welcome to a special 1-year anniversary episode of Jazzology. Yes, we've been doing this for 1 year. Presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins. We're here alternating Fridays, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked a question worth 2 points. If they're unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have the chance to steal the question for 1 point. We will ask 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. In sudden death, each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. The person in the lead at the end of regulation will go first. The contestants will alternate chances to answer the question until one gets it correct. And now let's meet this week's contestants. Our reigning champion is baritone saxophonist Jason Marshall, who has performed with, among others, the late great Roy Hargrove and the Mingus Big Band. And Jason has a recent release out titled New Beginnings. So, Jason.
Yes, sir.
What continues to excite you about playing this music called jazz?
What continues to excite me is the fact that there's never an end to the refinement to the levels that you can achieve. The baritone saxophone is just an endless quest of perfection, and there's always another layer of sort of emotional depth that you can get out of the instrument if you can manage it technically. So I just stay at it and just try and make more and more music.
So it's a constant quest.
Oh yeah, constant.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's meet today's Jazzology challenger.
Yeah.
And our challenger is Greg Bryant, who's a musician, writer, broadcaster, and host at Sirius XM's Real Jazz. And you're known as the Watchman, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, and he's a podcast host. Greg, what makes you the Watchman?
Well, Greg actually means the Watchman. And when I comb the characteristics of my personality, I try to take care of my people the best I can. The watchman on the wall, so to speak.
So watching over.
That's right. And that's transferred over to my love and care for this music, just as you guys. So the Watchman it is.
What excites you about jazz?
I think number one, the camaraderie. Coming together across socioeconomic backgrounds, generations, to be personable and to focus on one thing. All that other stuff is secondary when we are pursuing what we love through sound.
All right. Getting real philosophical on us there, Greg.
A little bit.
Well, let's get to today's Jazzology questions. And as our reigning champion, Jason Marshall will go first. Jason, tenor saxophonist Eddie Lockjaw Davis made a series of recordings for the Prestige label. Mm-hmm. With which of the following soulful organists? Mm-hmm. Was that A, Jimmy Smith, B, Shirley Scott, C, Richard Groove Holmes, D, Don Patterson, or E, Jimmy McGriff?
This one should be easier because this is right down in my wheelhouse. No, Don Patterson, Griff. Okay.
Some real rumination going on
It's
here.
real rumination. So this is the most personal question you've asked me. and I was getting ready to come off with a quick answer, and then I second guess myself. But let me go with that. I'm gonna say Don Patterson.
Don Patterson?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, that's Sonny Stitt and Don Patterson.
And
Sorry.
Greg Bryant has an opportunity to steal the point. I'll repeat the question, Greg. Tenor saxophonist Eddie Lockjaw Davis made a series of recordings on the Prestige label with which of the following soulful organists? Was that A, Jimmy Smith, B, Shirley Scott, C, Richard Groove Holmes, D, Don Patterson has been eliminated, or E, Jimmy McGriff?
Mm-hmm. Well, being a new Philadelphian myself, the Queen of the Organ is a special heartstring for me. Longtime fan of Shirley Scott, and recently found out that she was the biggest selling Prestige artist in the late 50s, early 60s. So Lockjaw was wise. B, Shirley Scott is my answer.
That is correct. And you see this?
Got it.
Just came out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I had the great privilege of writing the liner notes for that.
Oh, right on, Willard.
That particular question was top of mind.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, you got that point. So, Greg, you're next. Which of the following jazz musicians performed and recorded with Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention? Would that have been A, Les McCann, B, George Duke, C, Chester Thompson, D, Jean-Luc Ponty, or E, all of the above?
Okay. Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention.
Yep.
I know his Hot Rats album, but the Mothers are a bit more murky category with me. I'm going to actually say, because they did play together, I'm not sure if it was that band, but my guess is B, George Duke.
That is incorrect. Jason with a chance to steal the point. Jason, which of the following jazz musicians performed and recorded with Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention? Would that have been A, Les McCann, B, George Duke, C, Chester Thompson, D, Jean-Luc Ponty, or E, all of the above? And we've eliminated B, George Duke.
Right. Which is to say George Duke only, right?
Yeah.
From what I know about Frank Zappa, I'm gonna go with E, all of them.
Yes, indeed, all of the above. I guess, and I suppose the most unlikely would have been Les McCann.
But that's why I said, because he would throw everything in it.
Yeah.
So the options were so disparate. I said it makes sense that it would be all of them.
Nice.
So Jason, you're up next.
Yep.
When guitarist John Scofield left Berklee College of Music, whose band did he join? Was it A, Charles Mingus, B, Gary Burton, C, Billy Cobham, George Duke, D, Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan, or E, Miles Davis?
What year did he graduate?
That's not part of the equation.
That's a meaningful feature, though.
That's a good question, though. That's a good question.
All right. Without that information, I'm gonna say E, Miles Davis. Okay.
Yes, he played with Miles Davis on the
Mhm.
You're Under Arrest album.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But Greg,
Yes,
when
sir.
John Schofield left Berklee College of Music, whose band did he join? Was it A, Charles Mingus, B, Gary Burton, C, Billy Cobham, George Duke, D, Chet Baker, Jerry Mulligan, and E, Miles Davis has been eliminated?
Brother Willard, in my mind, I'm seeing this yellow CTI album, Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan, and I think the ringer on there was John Schofield, but I know Gary Burton had the Berklee Association too. I'm going to throw out a guess. D, Chet Baker, Jerry Mulligan.
Mm.
That's correct.
Okay.
He did indeed play with all of those people.
Yeah.
Toured or recorded with all, including Mingus on the 3 or 4 stages.
I know that. Yeah.
But
that's why I asked him what year he graduated, because
right. That would have been too easy, Jason.
I mean, but
Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan is correct.
okay.
And so my man went back to his archives and recalled that CTI album. All right, that's impressive, Greg. You're up next, Greg.
Okay.
After the bassist Miroslav Vitus left Weather Report as the band's original bass player, who took over the Weather Report bass chair? Was it A, Victor Bailey, B, Jaco Pastorius, C, Alphonso Johnson, D, Stanley Clark, or E, none of the above?
This one's taking me back to my Fisher Price turntable days, going through my dad's records. Let's see. So Weather Report, Miroslav was first.
Yes.
Alphonso Johnson was second, and Jaco was third. So I'm going with Alphonso Johnson, letter C.
That is correct. It was Alphonso Johnson. Jason, you're up next.
Okay.
Which of the following guitar players did not, and I'll say that again, which of the following guitar players did not record or tour with Miles Davis? Was it A, George Benson, B, Joe Beck, C, Pete Cozy, D, Bucky Pizzarelli, or E, Pat Metheny?
Okay, I'm going through. Now I'm on the back of album covers. Did not tour or record. I'm gonna say D, Bucky Pizzarelli.
That is incorrect.
Wow. All right.
So, Greg, a chance to steal the point.
Okay.
Which of the following guitar players did not record or tour with Miles Davis? Would that have been A, George Benson, B, Joe Beck, C, Pete Cozy, D, Bucky Pizzarelli has been eliminated, or E, Pat Metheny?
Okay, let's see. Benson and Beck recorded with Miles in 67, 68. Pete Cozy was in the band. I'm going Pat Metheny, E.
That's wild to me.
That is correct. Pat Metheny neither recorded nor toured with Miles Davis.
Let me ask you: did he ever perform with Miles Davis, or do I just imagine them in a photo together?
You know, if he did, it was on an informal basis, sitting in.
Okay. All right.
Because he was not officially a member of the band, nor did he record with Miles Davis.
Got it. Okay.
But I wouldn't have put it past him to have had some connection at some point.
Yeah, I vaguely recall like a North Sea Jazz photo with the two of them in it.
Right. That might have been Pat Photobaum and Miles.
Could have been. All right.
Jazzology is brought to you by Savage Content, your home for quality music programming. This week, Savage Content would like to spotlight Ain't But a Few of Us, the latest book from yours truly, Willard Jenkins. Despite the fact that most of jazz major innovators and performers have been African American, the overwhelming majority of jazz journalists, critics, and authors have been and continue to be white men. No major mainstream jazz publication has ever had a black editor or publisher. Ain't But a Few of Us presents over 24 candid dialogues with black jazz critics and journalists, ranging from Greg Tate, Farrah Jasmine Griffin, and Robin D.G. Kelly, to Tammy Kernodle, Ron Welburn, and John Murph. And in honor of the 1-year anniversary of Jazzology, Savage Content is offering you a chance to win a signed copy. Simply follow the show on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show and answer the trivia the trivia question in the post after the show. And now it's time to ask our contestants our favorite question. Savage Content has thus far conducted 2 video essay contests asking contestants how they fell in love with jazz. So for each episode of Jazzology, we like to pose that question to our contestants. Now, Greg, you talked about the Fisher-Price plastic turntable and your father's records, so I got a little bit of a clue as to where your interest came from. But tell us how you fell in love with jazz.
Well, that was really it. I would take, Freddie Hubbard Red Clay or Miles Davis Bitches Brew, and I would just find the get down parts, if you will, the vamps, where they would just go off. And something in my DNA and in my mind, I just wanted to hear it over and over. And Headhunters and Weather Report. And then I worked my way back to the acoustic music. And I didn't really want to play for a long time until I got to be about maybe 19. But then being on the bandstand and learning from folks young and old. Jason Marshall was one of them. There was a club in DC, HR 57, when I lived there briefly. Jason blew us away on several jam sessions, and I learned, and it was such a good time. And I knew he was going to be the one to watch of all that group. And I'm so proud and happy for him. New Beginnings. If you haven't shouted that out, y'all check that record out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. New Beginnings.
Appreciate Joe, for real.
So you skipped all the intros and went straight to the vamps, huh? Well, Jason, you've answered this question previously, but let's ask you again. What keeps you interested in jazz?
So it's trying to get back to that feeling I had. One of my first saxophone lessons with Mr. Lawrence Wheatley in DC. Lorenz Wheatley, my mother took me to his house and he asked me if I knew about Cannonball Adderley and if I knew the record Something Else with Miles Davis, and I said, kind of no. He said, oh man, sit down. You gotta hear this. So he puts on Something Else, and that was like the switch that needed to get flipped. Because and he had a really nice sound system, and man, it threw me for such a loop that everything I heard after that was different. And for me, it's the pursuit of trying to create that experience for other people.
All right.
That in the event that they hear it at a formative time in their life, that it flips that switch. Because at that point, you don't even really have to do anything else. Like all the internal drive kind of awakens, and you're on that path.
Well, I think you achieved that when I saw you a couple of weeks ago playing in that Roy Hargrove.
Oh man, thank you.
Jazz festival.
Thank you.
People were like, "Wow, playing all that on the baritone saxophone."
Appreciate you.
Well, Greg, it's your turn next.
Okay.
The poet and rapper Mike Ladd collaborated with which of the following jazz pianist composers? Would that have been A, Jerry Allen, B, Vijay Iyer, C, Ethan Iverson, D, Robert Glasper, or E, Helen Sung?
Mm-hmm. Can I have the question one more time, please?
The poet and rapper Mike Ladd collaborated with which of the following jazz pianist composers? Would that have been A, Jerry Allen, B, Vijay Iyer, C, Ethan Iverson, D, Robert Glasper, or E, Helen Sung?
Mm-hmm. I have not heard this collaboration. And one of these pianists for sure has an album with words, but I'm shying away from that direction. I'm going to go with B, Vijay Iyer.
Okay. I guess that's an example of how it pays off to sift through the brain with these answers. It was indeed Vijay Iyer.
Okay.
They recorded and they toured together.
Okay.
Mike Ladd recorded and toured with Vijay Iyer. Jason, you're up next.
Okay.
You got some catching up to do here, bro.
No.
Which Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, or AACM, wrote the AACM history book, A Power Stronger Than Itself? Would that have been A, Roscoe Mitchell, B, Leroy Jenkins, C, George Lewis, or D, Lester Bowie?
Ask the question again, please.
Which Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians artist wrote the AACM history book, A Power Stronger Than Itself? Was it A, Roscoe Mitchell, B, Leroy Jenkins, C, George Lewis, or D, Lester Bowie?
Okay. The question, the written question might leaves out the word artist. Yeah. But which one of these people wrote that book? I'm kind of thinking. I know George Lewis is a writer now. I'm gonna say A, Roscoe Mitchell.
Incorrect. Greg, with an opportunity to steal the point.
Mm-hmm.
Which AACM musician wrote the AACM history book, A Power Stronger Than Itself? A, Roscoe Mitchell has been eliminated. Was it B, Leroy Jenkins, C, George Lewis, or that should be D, Lester Bowie?
Okay. Yeah, the AACM, that's a gift that keeps on giving. I was entranced by them when I lived in Chicago. And that's been 20 years ago now. And we got wind that book was coming out. C, George Lewis.
I had it too. Well done.
That is correct. George Lewis wrote that book, and it is a powerful book.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend that book to anyone,
mm-hmm.
Whether you are a devotee of the AACM or not. That is an incredible book. So George Lewis did indeed write the book, A Power Stronger Than Itself, the AACM history book. Greg.
Yes, sir.
Which of the following contemporary jazz singers is from Jackson, Mississippi? Is it A, Diane Reeves, B, Cassandra Wilson, C, Stacey Kent, D, Nina Freeland, or E, Tierney Sutton?
She's one of my favorites. And I actually played her club in Jackson, the Yellow Scarf, with my wife, Dara Star Tucker. B, Cassandra Wilson.
That is correct. Of those singers, Cassandra Wilson is a native of Jackson, Mississippi. Jason, which of the following jazz musicians is from Cleveland, Ohio? Would that be A, Joe Lovano, B, Tad Dameron, C, Albert Eiler, D, Benny Bailey, or E, all of the above?
I know Joe Lovano is from Cleveland. I'm fairly certain Tad Dameron is too. So I'm going to say E, all of the above.
That is correct. Joe Lovano, Tad Dameron, Albert Eiler, and Benny Bailey are all from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I grew up there, so I do know that.
Right. Right.
Greg.
Yes, sir.
Which of the following guitarists played with the jazz organists Jimmy Smith, Trudy Pitts, who I'm sure you know, Jack McDuff, and Don Patterson?
Okay.
Would that have been A, John Schofield, B, George Benson, C, Pat Martino, D, Kenny Burrell, or E, Larry Coryell?
Oh, good question. Good question. I do want to hear it one more time because I want to make sure I have all the organists that you said.
Which of the following guitarists played with the jazz organists Jimmy Smith, Trudy Pitts, Jack McDuff, and Don Patterson? Would that have been A, John Schofield, B, George Benson, C, Pat Martino, D, Kenny Burrell, E, Larry Coryell?
Okay. It's not Sco, that's for sure. It's not Larry Coryell. I'm not sure. It's a very good question. Spidey senses. Where are you? Trudy Pitts and Jack McDuff sharing a guitarist. That's the real ringer for me. Oh man, I like this question, Willard. You got me on this one. I'm gonna go for D, Kenny Burrell. Okay.
Incorrect.
Okay.
And Jason has an opportunity to steal the question. Jason, which of the following guitarists played with the jazz organists Jimmy Smith, Trudy Pitts, Jack McDuff, and Don Patterson? Was that A, John Schofield, B, George Benson, C, Pat Martino, D, Kenny Burrell, or E, Larry Coryell?
It's another one I feel like I should have very close to the top of mind. I'm going to go. I'm going to say B, George Benson.
Nope. The correct answer to that question is C.
Pat Martino.
Philadelphia's own Pat Martino.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the Trudy Pitts part of that might have given that away. Yes, it was C, Pat Martino.
Okay.
All right. So Jason, you are trailing.
Okay. Aware.
So with the rules of the game being what they are, and you've done this before.
Okay.
You have an opportunity to catch up.
Okay.
By answering our bonus question correctly.
All right.
Our bonus question is soprano saxophonist Steve Lacy recorded an album called Communique with which of the following piano players? Would that have been A, Thelonious Monk, B, Mal Waldron, C, Hank Jones, D, Jerry Allen, or E, Sir Roland Hanna? Oh, some deep rumination going on here.
Deep. I'm going to say E, Sir Roland Hanna.
That is incorrect, and Greg Bryant is our new champion.
Thank
Congratulations.
you, man.
The correct answer to that question,
yeah,
and that is that Steve Lacy recorded an album called Communique with which of the following piano players? We know that Steve Lacy had an abiding interest in Thelonious Monk.
right.
Definitely played with Monk. But the correct answer is B, Al Waldron.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
So, congratulations to Greg Bryant on your win and to dethroning Jason Marshall. We encourage each and every one of you to try your hand at playing Jazzology.
All right.
And as I say every week, we are particularly encouraging women to compete on Jazzology. And Greg, you know that your colleague at Sirius, Andromeda Toure, is one of only 2 women who have played this game. And she did emerge as a champion. So we are encouraging women to compete on Jazzology. And if anyone watching would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all the latest news and updates. Thanks so much to Jason Marshall.
All right now.
Champion Greg Bryant, and to everyone who joined us for our 27th episode of Jazzology today. This is our 1-year anniversary, our 27th episode. Remember, you can check out Jazzology every other Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you miss the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. Thank you both. And Greg,
all right now.
Next episode.
Sounds good.